Hello, it's the Phebe Swill platform, and today in my platform I have a very special guest, someone who has been very active quite lately. Well, not just quite lately, but lately very active with a particular program, taking it to schools. Well, let's not waste time. It's Naasu Fofanah, and she's been doing her 50 speaker series, right? 50 speaker series quite recently, engaging school pupils, traveling across the country and talking to them. And she has also quite recently come public with her story. So today on my platform, we're going to talk to Naasu Fofanah. Some of you would not remember who she was prior to now. She'll give us a recap to jog your memory. We'll talk about what inspired her series she's doing with school pupils, and we'll talk about her story. And then we'll try to see lessons learned. Now she's a grown woman. What lessons can we learn so that what happened to her cannot happen to other kids in this generation? Both for the parents, as in how you pay attention to your kids, and for the kids, how to develop the confidence to come forward and talk about it. Also, Naasu, I would have to put you on the spot at some point, because we know how rape has been declared a public emergency in Sierra Leone, well, a state emergency by the president, and he declared life sentence for those who would be found guilty. So at some point, I would like to know from your perspective, how do you think that solves the problem or contributes towards solving the problem? That's for later. Let's set the pace now. A lot of people see you now as Naasu Fofanah. Well, some of us would remember that you were working at State House, you were gender advisor. Just give us a recap of Naasu Fofanah and your work towards the contribution of development in Sierra Leone over the years before now.
Thank you very much, Phebe, and thank you for inviting me on your platform. It's been a long awaited.
I know, we've planned this like till forever.
Back and forth, but we're here. And so thank you and congratulations. This is excellent.
Thank you.
Naasu Fofanah, of course, I was born and raised here until I was 23. And left for the UK and the US and did what one would do when they're in the diaspora, got married, got my daughter, got formal education in, tertiary education, so I got a couple of degrees. And I returned home in, approximately 10 years in 2019.
Sorry to hold you there. People use the word sexy every now and then. You know what I find sexy?
Yeah.
When a woman says, I've got a couple of degrees, like that's sexy. Like that's a woman, I've got a couple of degrees. I find that sexy. Yes,
it is sexy. It's a lot of hard work, but you can say it's effortlessly now because you've earned it. It's something you've done. It's something you've worked really hard for. I was studying when I was a single parent. I was also going through divorce, a very sticky divorce. When I, landed my two first degrees, my bachelor's and my master's, the first master's I got. So, yeah, but it was hard work, over those 4 or 5 years and trying to get that. So, yes, you can say it effortlessly because you've earned it.
Yes.
So yes, it's sexy.
It is.
And so I came back to Sierra Leone in 2009 just to really, there was a call for people in the diaspora to come and support the newly elected government of President Ernest Bai Koroma. I didn't have any political background. I didn't know. I knew somebody in the government, but not somebody who, we spoke about government or anything. So I never thought especially when I was doing my master's in international development, I specialized in gender and education. I never thought I would work for government nor the UN, because of the kinds of theories and the debates that we were having. So I didn't come home to do that. So I came home and established Gemna International. I had a beautiful hairdressing and product line business. The Wilkinson Road project really killed that. We're one of those ones who had to pay dearly after we've sold our homes and everything to come and invest back home. But you know, it was for the development of our country.
You had that Avalon product.
Yes, Avalon and you know, Curry Care. It was quite good. I had a very good clientele, but the country wasn't quite ready for that kind of you know, business. The infrastructure wasn't there. Electricity, water, the things that we take for granted today were not really readily available. So anyway, while I was doing that, there was an earthquake in Haiti in 2010, and I collaborated with some music, you know, key musicians in this country, Felicia, Emerson, Jimmy B, you name them. We all came together and raised money, because there's this whole thing about Sierra Leone where we just always want to receive. And I thought, wow, can we come together as a country, as a people, because the government had given 100,000. Can we come together? Just, you know, can we do a benefit concert for Haiti? We did, and we raised $12,000 minus, you know, expenditure, which was not quite a lot. We sent back 10,400 to Haiti to resettle 4 families through a local organization there in Haiti. So when we did that, the UN, the representative of the UN then was called to be our keynote speaker. And during that time, I think they were very impressed with how we organized it, and they reached out to me and said, you know, what's your background? What do you actually do? I mean, we don't normally see stuff like this in Sierra Leone. And then I told them, you know, I have a degree in psychology, I have a degree in education, you know, international development, specializing in gender and education. You have a degree in gender? Yes, I do. Well, you know, we have an opening coming up. No, I don't want to work for the UN. No, but I think, you know,
just like that, you're stopping
yes,
the opportunity.
Like, I don't. Well, yes, because you know, I just felt like the UN wasn't as democratic as we perceive it to be. Okay, we had people in my class when I was doing my international development course who were from the UN, who were very senior people. So we used to challenge some of the things, you know, development assistance and all of that. So I always thought, you know, the UN was, you know, a bunch of international civil servants.
You talk about all these gains made, but do you agree that there is more that could have been done that was left undone?
Absolutely, but it is not just with, even with this government, it is not just with the government. The government is there to provide the enabling environment through laws, through, you know, for example, in the executive, appointing more women. But we have the political parties who are the gatekeepers when it comes to, for example, women's political participation.
So now for both political parties, the APC and the SLPP, they do make political appointments to women, but it's still not satisfactory to many men who support women empowerment and to many women groups. Where do you see the problem? Because they talk about it, and if it's political will, you think it's there. And if you look at qualified and competent women to head some of these offices, we're not in short supply either. So where's the problem?
The problem is with the political parties. You have to understand that this is all politics. And the political party structures are not gender-friendly at all. These wings of political parties is also, in my opinion, an impediment to the progress of women within political parties, because you have one woman who is the women's wing president, okay, who has all the power to basically rally the women around. I wish we could have the men's wing in the Unity Party, but the wings of, in my opinion, is one of the, you want to really make a strong case. These two political parties, in fact, have their gender policy documents, okay, for their political parties, where they spoke about awarding 30%
which has
co-chair.
not been achieved.
No,
by
so the
either,
SLPP
by
had it
either
first.
of the APC.
Yes, and now the APC also
Neither
has
the
it.
APC nor the
Not there.
SLPP.
So it has to start from there. Okay, giving symbols. But
and you are a member of Unity Party,
yes,
which is the all-female-led political party.
It's not all-female-led.
It's coming across the seam as the women owning their own political party and pushing. Why are you a member of that political party in the first place?
The reason, so I was actually a member of the APC for 18 months. So when I was in State House, I wasn't a member of a political party, which is very strange. Now that I know how the politics of this country works.
So at what point did you become a member of the APC?
18 months after I left the government.
After you left State House?
Yes, after I left State House.
Now you're in Unity. How did you transition from APC and now you're a member of Unity
So
Party?
I looked at both political parties, and of course I was in the APC, and I realized the issue that I was talking about, you know, where the power is, where the problem is, which is within the political party. So my last course that I did, my executive masters that I did, my capstone, my thesis is on, you know, political parties in Sierra Leone, and especially, you know, in the area of women, women's empowerment within those parties. And I realized that what we are looking for, okay, what we want, the political parties will not give to us. So how many women are within those political party structures really strong at the executive level?
So how does Unity Party become that solution to what women want, when in Sierra Leone we all know that APC and SLPP seem to own the country,
Because we have allowed...
How does Unity Party make any difference or an impact?
We have allowed that, and we need a cognitive shift, okay? Unity Party by itself is a conduct, is a vehicle for us to actualize what you and I want to see. So how do we actualize that? We go and join the party. Because I want to see more women in political leadership, I did not wait for Femi Claudius Cole to come and meet me to say, Naasu, could you join me?
You went.
I went, I engaged her. I said, what, you know, what, like the questions you're asking me. And she told me, well, you know, I've not been able to get more women coming on board. And I said, what are the challenges? Because they are all in this party, they are holding strong parties. But okay, we have men in the party, of course we have men. So it's not an all-female led. It would be obviously in terms of the executive, like you've seen at the highest level, the chair and the deputy chair. We were deliberate about just having that face. But we, of course, have men, our Secretary General.
So again, with all the limitations, you know, in Sierra Leone, to make a difference, especially in terms of policies and all those things, you would need to be in government. Unity Party is neither in parliament, nor is it in mainstream government. How do you make a difference?
You can influence policy decision making by looking. So, for example, we're now looking at you know, the speeches that the president makes. Okay, you analyze those and you look at what the promises that he's made. You try to compare that, but you can also bring to the table if there is a shortfall. So, let's say, for example, they are doing things in the area of gender, you know, or international diplomacy, areas that I have a lot more to offer. We could say, profile and say, well, you know, we know this is our position. We think you didn't get this right, but this is what we think, and this is what we could do. So you can influence policy. You don't necessarily have to be in parliament to do that.
Well, as you say that, Ma'am, Naasu would look forward to see what the Unity Party does in the coming months and years as contribution towards national
We, Unity Party, will also will look forward to women like you. I know you're in the media, but we look forward to women like you and other women and men who believe in promoting women's empowerment and girls' empowerment and the issues that we believe in. So we have to do this collectively. We believe in collective leadership. We don't want Unity Party to be a prescriptive party where what we say is what happens. We want you to come on board and say, this is what I can profile. This is what I believe we could do that would make this movement move forward.
Well noted to everybody watching and listening. Well, you see a very strong and brave woman seated here. She has a story she quite recently shared on social media. We'll come back shortly to talk about that story, so we could see how we'd learn from that story. For kids who definitely, we have kids in similar positions and situations right now. How do they break free? This is the Phoebe Swill platform. We're live at Golden Tulip Hotel, Kimbima, where we're having, well, they've been gracious enough, where we're using as a studio venue. Let's take a message from our sponsors, Sierra Pharmatech, Rokel Commercial Bank, and Shalima Trading.
Sim Couple allow old and young to make deposit and withdraw cash from their account at any time and anywhere. With Rokel Commercial Bank SIM Couple, you can send and receive money at any place and any time. Rokel Commercial Bank don't make life better for we all.
Farmers from across the globe have a strong bond and passion for the soil, which leads to nurturing of the land. What they need is the support of high-performing agricultural solutions. With a wide variety of implements like rotavators, self-propelled combines, disc plow, MB plow, disc harrow, cultivator, reversible MB plow, and other implements. We are confident that the coming years will bring greater results with the trust and confidence of our associates, business partners, and customers on our products and services. Sonalika tractors range from 20 horsepower to 120 horsepower. We are ready to address the coming challenge of food security, highest customer satisfaction, and superior agricultural solutions. For distribution and dealership, contact Shalima Trading Company, 40B Wilkinson Road, Freetown. Telephone 099 909012. Sonalika.
Welcome back to the Phoebe Swill platform, and that's a message from our sponsors. We're still at Golden Tulip Hotel, where they're so nice enough to give us as much space as we want to do the Phoebe Swill platform, because the management believes in the vision of the Phoebe Swill platform. And I'd like to say a big thank you to the team at Golden Tulip Hotel. Naasu Fofanah is still with us. Naasu, you quite recently went on social media, on Facebook particularly, to share your journey of how you were abused growing up as a child. Now, for obvious reasons, I would not want us to go to the part where you mention the name of the individual. We can't have the name of the individual because, in all fairness of everything, we need to get the side of the individual. Absolutely. Which is something I would push for, to get the other side of the individual, but we would not mention the name. We would still go ahead to hear the story. Take us through how the abuse started.
Taking you through, I mean, just like you would not what I'm doing my series, and most of what I'm doing, most of what I'm talking about is about how and what happened, and it's not just one individual. We're talking about two individuals here. One hasn't been named. I was 15, and I was raped by my religious leader, my reverend, and this is somebody who I had known, of course, as a leader. You know, he's the member of my church. He's somebody who, in my opinion, then as a child, as a 15-year-old, I trusted. I couldn't fear to go to at any given time.
So where did this ugly incident happen the first time?
The first time, you know, there's a church. There's a church. You know, the ministers normally have a house. Okay, so there's a church house, and it happened there.
Yeah, and there's this video you shared on Facebook when you went to the venue again to visit the venue.
So the church, no. So there's a house. There's a house that the church house was not, you know, in the church. Now they've actually moved it. Okay, so we have the church, and he has an office. He had an office in the church, and there was also a church house. So the issues that I'm talking about happened in these two places. Okay, but it's one of those things when it happened, to be very honest, at that time. As a child, I couldn't make up what to make of it. And because it's like sitting here, you say, Naasu, come to the Phebe Swill show, do this. I trust your platform, so that's why I'm here. So you trust this person, you believe in him. If he's giving you, if he's saying you're looking nice, you know, if I say, Phebe, you know, your hairstyle is nice, you know, it's simply because you believe that what I'm saying is true. Yeah. So I just want people to know that whatever he would have asked me to do at that particular time, even as I sit here today, as if I was still a 15-year-old, because of the power that he had, I would have done. One thing that has come out quite a lot with, did you have a relationship? Even at 15, I knew when man wants me and man no wants me, when you yarn me and when you yarn me. That first incident was actually never something like... Paint
a picture. I know it's not a beautiful memory that anybody wants to be reliving, definitely. But on the first day it happened, where was it and what happened?
Phebe, you know, to sit and go through that at this point in my mind, in what I'm going through, is really something, because I want to be able to say this like I've said to people. I want him to sit there, and he's sitting here, just like you said, you want him to be. That particular thing is something I've sent a message to. I said, what do you remember? Because remember, he's come on social media and he's denied. Okay, he knows and I know. Let him sit and let me sit, and let's really discuss this and say. And I say to his face, because I mean, we could go to court. You understand? And I just feel like I've said, you did this to me. You know you did this to me. You know where it happened, in your minister's house. You know exactly, not once, not twice, not thrice, you understand? Up to the last time that it happened here in Freetown. So for me, going through what actually happened in terms of what I know what happened. I have it in my memory. I can never forget it. I believe he knows what happened, so I've just sent the message back to him. Somebody came from the UK and spoke to me and said, I want you to go and ask him one question. Ask him the first time it happened, what actually happened. So I'm not going to preempt that, because who knows, we might go to court. And I want that particular, because that is a very strong area of my case. And I've deliberately decided that that particular offense, okay, the first event, I can talk about the last event here, but that one,
now let's talk about after that. Yeah. How did it continue? Well, okay, let's not hear about how it really happened. But after the incident, when you got back home, what was running through your mind and what reaction did you have?
I cannot even remember what was running through my mind, because remember that in this case, in this situation then, at 15, I mean, when did we start hearing the word rape, or when do we know that, okay, this is happening?
Did you know what had happened to you?
I did not know what had happened to me. And this is what, I say in my story. I did not know what had happened to me. I knew something, this man got on top of me, something happened. I saw blood, and I asked about what that was, and I was
Did you
told,
talk to anybody about it?
talk to who? Who?
So
My mother.
So you suffered that on your own in silence.
In fact, I wouldn't say you suffered that, because you have to understand that somebody has done something bad to you before you can actually start thinking, oh yes, I suffered that. It's later, years, when you actually understand. So the only time I knew
So at that
something,
point in your life, you really didn't realize that this was really inappropriate.
I didn't know whether it was inappropriate or it was appropriate.
At
He
that
told me
point
it
in
was
your
okay.
life, who were you living with?
My mother.
Only your mother?
My mother, yes. My mother was living with my mother, wasn't living with my father. And the only time I knew that it was, I had gone and done something wrong was when my mother found out, this thing on my throat here, was beaten. Because those days, that's when you know whether you are pregnant or not. So I remember vividly, I came from school and, how are you? And what do you? I guess, of course, she's my mother. She
would know, yes.
Changes in me, and then we went to a doctor.
Not like the mothers these days do.
And we went to the doctor, and she was told that I was pregnant, and of course I had the beating of my life and all of that. So that's when I knew.
There's a specific way you just put it, when I knew I had done something wrong. Why did you use that specific phrase?
No, I said, because that was when I wasn't told somebody don't go do you bad. You, Susu, you don't go get belly. I don't try for pay you school fee for do this, for do that, and you don't get. So I was the bad girl. And prior to that, because when you live in homes, and this is what I say, and this is what the children are telling me, my mother was very, very strict. So my mother never used to tell me that I was doing well, even though I was doing well in school. And I think this was one of the reasons why this particular reverend was more, because this was somebody who used to tell me how I was doing well in school, how I was in the scripture union.
So you got that encouragement
and
from
trust.
him. Yeah.
Yes, you understand. I mean, he was the one who confirmed me. So this was a trusting space for me. This was a place of trust. Okay, my home was not a place of trust. Home was a place of fear. Home was a place where I had to be the perfect child. I can't do anything wrong. If I did the slightest thing wrong, I would be beaten mercilessly. So
now we'll continue with that story, but as we go between the story, this is where we bring out things for parents and kids to learn from.
Yeah.
What kind of relationship would you have preferred to have with your mother that would have led you to run to her immediately that happened?
The relationship I have with my daughter now, which is an open relationship where she tells me things, and even if it's the worst thing, yes, she understands that I'll get upset, but I would listen. Their time, my mother's time, and most mothers now, their time and their frame of mind was different. All they knew was, I have to be strict on her so she can be
a responsible child.
She's my eldest child. She has to do well. So if I'm not strict, if I'm not beat them, the other one, it go come about the other one then. So it's this regimental. So it wasn't just my mother. My father was the same. My father was in the army. So I grew up in in very strict environments. So for the first time, I would have somebody who, and this is the church leader who would, say, you're doing well. You're great. And I wasn't used to that. I was only used to, yeah, you don't try. Next time, try, no can second. It was always like boom, 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 boom. Okay, whatever, you get beaten. So to go to my mother to tell her something had gone wrong, I did not know that something had gone wrong with me in the first place anyway. I did not know. I am going to a place where I am encouraged. I almost feel like I didn't know what love would be. You understand, parental love or whatever. But I just knew this was after God, this was the other person.
At what point in your life did you realize that, oh, that scene, that situation was not appropriate?
So when I came to see him, so when all of this happened and my mother...
Because back then the issues like rape and all those things were not heard of.
even if it was kept under the carpet, okay, it started bothering me when I actually went to the UK, because that's where I started reading about stuff about, okay, so this is not really right, this is not appropriate, but it went into my unconscious because it was just an area of my life. I was not going to church, and I could not then articulate.
So yes, how did that incident affect you? It continued, like you rightly posted on Facebook.
Yeah.
You spoke about how you stopped going to church. Beyond that, how did it affect you in other sectors of your life?
And even while it was affecting me, I couldn't articulate over the years what it was. So I remember in my marriage, I really didn't want to have, that intimacy with my husband. And my husband was wondering, like, why? Why would she not? We went to doctors and nothing was wrong with me. But I just couldn't. I just could not be that. Sex was never, sex became something that I didn't like. To date, it's not something I even still feel like I just want to, want to have. And I've always thought, why? I mean, do I just don't like sex? I could not connect the two. You understand? Why am I almost like anti-sexual? So I want us to be friends. I want to marry you. But then that space for me was just a space. I just
don't go.
Yes, but I never would articulate in my own. When I started studying psychology was when this started coming back slowly. Okay, so I went to university and I did my first. I'm like, okay. But going to church, I would go as far as, okay, I'll go to Mass on Sunday. I never really I went to church, the Catholic church in the UK, to make sure my daughter went in because she was going to a Catholic school, to go through all of this. But I never committed myself. In fact, the word Methodist was something I never wanted to hear. Okay, I didn't want to go near. And I could not even at this point articulate. When did that? So all of these things that were happening around me, I could find other reasons to explain to myself. Oh, Santana, I cannot let me man again. Oh, well, why was it so?
After that incident, was it a situation for you where it was just about sex that you really could not like, or it was a thing about men that you really did not want to get close to?
Both.
What was it, about the sex or the men?
Both. But it wasn't just, it was actually not men, because I had good relationships with my peers, so like somebody who was my age group. But anybody, and because I guess in my marriage, because my husband was more, he was a lot older than me, and so I saw that authority figure. So I found out that when I was in a relationship, and in fact I resisted having relationships with people who were in authority. It was almost as if I was defiant towards authority. So a man in a position, not attractive to me. I mean, not attractive to me. And I just couldn't understand why this was, and I would challenge, you understand, those relationships. Not that I haven't gone out with people who have been, but I just found out that I was a lot more aggressive in those relationships than somebody who was my age mate or who was like a year or two. I enjoyed my company, I enjoyed my relationships with those people because it felt equal. So I believe that there was that inequality, but I could not at that time articulate why I was responding to these things. But in my marriage, it really, really showed. And my husband didn't know what had happened to me.
In some cases, for some people, it pushes them to lesbianism. Sorry, I'm being very blunt with these things. For some people, in some cases, it pushes them to become lesbians. I do have a few people that I know, obviously we don't name names, who became lesbians as a result of some of these instances. Did you find yourself in that situation?
So I'm not attracted to women in that way. But I feel like I even wonder if my work, okay, I'm actually processing all of this now as I'm dealing with this. I even wonder whether my whole issue of promoting women or doing women's work was emanating from that. Because I went to school and I did all these studies and I was just very protective of women and girls.
I would come to talk about how your position on that. But first, let's take another break. It's the Phebe Swill platform and we're still at Golden Tulip Hotel. Let's hear from our sponsors, Sierra Pharmatech SPT, Rokel Commercial Bank RCB, and Shalima Trading.
couple allow old and young to make deposit and withdraw cash from their account at any time and anywhere. With Rokel Commercial Bank SIM couple, you can send and receive money at any place and any time. Rokel Commercial Bank don't make life better for we all.
Farmers from across the globe have a strong bond and passion for the soil, which leads to nurturing of the land. What they need is the support of high-performing agricultural solutions. With a wide variety of implements like rotavators, self-propelled combines, disc plow, MB plow, disc harrow, cultivator, reversible MB plow, and other implements. We are confident that the coming years will bring greater results with the trust and confidence of our associates, business partners, and customers on our products and services. Sonalika tractors range from 20 horsepower to 120 horsepower. We are ready to address the coming challenge of food security, highest customer satisfaction, and superior agricultural solutions. For distribution and dealership, contact Shalima Trading Company, 40B Wilkinson Road, Freetown. Telephone 099 909012. Sonalika.
Welcome back from that break. This is the Phoebe Swill platform and was still at Golden Tulip Hotel. I still have Naasu Fofanah with me. I was asking, now you've been through that journey. You've been through it where you even got pregnant, but your mom made that smart decision for you that you feel is the best decision. Now we have a situation in the country where victims of such who would want to embark on abortion becomes illegal. What's your position on this?
Phoebe, this whole issue that we're speaking about today came out. It came to the forefront of my consciousness because of what you've just asked me. So I was, as gender advisor, I chaired the validation of the safe abortion bill, and I briefed the president on it. And the president was like, oh, so this is still illegal in this country? Yes, 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 it is. But anyway, then I left, and Parliament passed that bill, and it went to the president for his signature to be enacted, and the Interreligious Council
Again
came, pressured the president, and the president, retreated.
When you heard of that news, being that your encounter with rape was from a religious leader, and then you pushed for something where, in your opinion, you think is a safe route for women who find themselves in that situation, and the same religious council comes to stop it. What did you feel?
That is what triggered all of what has happened today. I don't know whether, if that action hadn't happened, whether I would have probably been even emboldened to talk about this. So when that happened in 2016, I was so angry. I went to Parliament with the 50-50 group. We were there in Parliament, and I was holding this placard, and Naasu Fofanah asked me on air, why are you here? And I just spoke. So the first time I spoke, I said, these guys, the Interreligious Council, one of their men raped me when I was 15. It just came out. It wasn't even like pre-planned. Once I said that, of course, because of who I am in my country, everybody wanted to know when,
story,
where,
yeah.
how. And for 3 years, Phebe Swill, from the day I spoke about that on air, I developed high blood pressure. So you can check my records here in Sierra Leone with my doctor. You can go to New York with my doctor. You can go to London. For 3 years, I developed high blood pressure. They did not know where it came from. For 3 years, I've been struggling with what do I do? So that's for me what
in the what do I do question.
Yeah.
What answers have come up for you?
So firstly, I wanted to find this because once this thing came to my forefront, I wanted to find this man because I've not seen him in over 30-something years.
Quite recently, I paid a visit to Swill for a reason. There was this girl who was slightly under 12. She had a baby. She was not even pregnant. She was under 12 and she had a baby. So whatever excuse you give in the world, she's pregnant. Whether you say she has been married, she's pregnant, she's under 18. So there's that child with a baby who, whether or not she says, well, I voluntarily agreed for that man to sleep with me, who was raped. And she, of course, would not have had abortion. It's illegal. When you hear these stories every day and yourself being a victim, what do you push for?
It breaks my heart. I mean, I had a friend who, just before my mother found out I was pregnant, who was pregnant and who went and had a safe abortion, unsafe abortion, and died. My best friend in class. So I have that story as well in the school that I went to, my school. And that for me is scary. That is what our girls and some of our women are going through. Having the safe abortion bill allows, women and decisions to be made to have whatever decisions in a safe environment, in an environment where people don't have to carry unwanted pregnancies. As I speak, there are women who have had children out of rape and they cannot even bond with those children. Those children are beginning to have children, grandchildren. It is very, very, very
and
traumatic.
Those children are not even safe in their mother's hands.
No, because the love is not there. There's quite a lot of hate. We don't have the systems in place to even counsel people who have gone through this. For the last 3 years, Phebe, I have gone through, I don't know what to call it. I could have died.
And this is where I bring the Unity Party on board again. In the first half of this program, you spoke about how Unity Party comes on board to look at some of those issues and how you can make recommendations. Now, you're a member of Unity Party. There is this situation. Have you sat together as a party to have a thought on that to see how best you can push to get a situation like this addressed once and for all in the country?
We can,
because it's still pending.
We can.
The President, your government has not even started a discussion on that yet.
Before I joined Unity Party, I went to the UK and I engaged parliamentarians in the House of Commons and we started working on this. And there was a letter sent to the President, through the Minister of DFID, okay, to check on what the government of Sierra Leone, what their plans were. In terms of Unity Party, we have not sat because this is not just my thinking. It has to be
well, maybe this is an eye-opener for you now to engage your party and see how you can push with it.
We will, these and many other issues will bring to the forefront, but it has to be a collective decision.
Now, let's
me.
come back to the situation with you. Quite recently, the President declared rape as a national emergency, and there's a life sentence punishment for perpetrators who would be found guilty. Now, we do have situations in the country where these kids are being violated by people around them who take care of them. Some of them, it's their fathers. Some, it's their uncles or brothers or people around them who takes care of them. And we don't have enough safe spaces for these girls. Well, much provision is not made for girls who come forward to mention these stories. Now, if the person is taken away, what happens to you? In your thought now, as someone who's been through that ugly situation, although in your case it's not with a relative, what are your thoughts?
I do have a situation.
Oh, you said it's twice. Yeah. Yes, you do have another one.
I do have a situation with a relative.
A relative again. So now, with you, with your background, your story, when you hear these things, where does it leave your thoughts?
What do I do as Naasu Fofanah to actually, what would be my contribution? How can I support the victims and survivors? How can I complement government's efforts? That's where my 50th Speaker Series comes in. Take my story, go and try to talk to young people. I want to know what the young people know. In my days, they didn't have the Naasu Fofanahs going around their schools to talk about this. It was uncalled for. So how do we prepare young people to prevent themselves? Because we do not have the structures in place to actually support them, you know, in terms of safe homes, counseling. Talking about this is one thing. Self-care, what happens to you after you've come out and you've spoken, is a huge area which the government is not even yet thinking about how to respond to that. What I am doing with my series is not just going and talking, it's what will come out of that series. I have a building, I'm going to dedicate that building. I don't know whether it will be a safe home, what it would be, but I'm in the process of trying to see how I can raise funds to finish that and dedicate it to this program. One thing that is going to be there is psychological counseling, and I'm going to start that very, very soon, where I could speak to people. We need this because the structures can be there. The psychological aspects of this is what we really need to pay attention to. And we
as you mentioned all of this, Naasu, the president went forward to declare, yes, life sentence for perpetrators, which is a step in the right direction, but is it timely?
It is timely, yes. I think we need to send a stronger message. I think I'm on record for saying people who, perpetrators who rape children, especially like the cases we've been hearing, we have the death penalty. I support the death penalty in cases
in a
like
case
this.
Where we've not really adequately made preparations for girls who come forward for their safe spaces, their welfare, their protection, psychosocial therapy, and all of it. And now we're saying life sentence. And we do have families where some of these parents, the mothers now would come and other relatives to say, don't go public, because if you do, we stop to eat, we stop to be fed, we stop to be taken care of, we stop having a safe place to sleep and all of it. Again, from that background, is it still timely to go straight to say life in sentence, but no preparation for those who come forward when you know that the person who takes care of you, now if found guilty, goes behind bars, and then there's nobody left to take care of me and the family?
It has to be a parallel situation, but we have to set the example. If we don't, then that would be a deterrent. It could be a deterrent, and we could stop other girls or other children and boys, suffering this. If we just say we have to, have all the structures before we take, strong punitive measures, it's just going to continue. I mean, the audacity, the emboldenedness of what is happening in our country today is something that I can't describe how a man could look at a 6-month-old baby, a 3-month-old baby, a 3-year-old child, a 5-year-old child, and just have anal sex or what? I mean,
so
just
prior to now, there was an excuse made for these savages, these vagabonds. An excuse to say, well, it's the way women dress. Now you look at the baby in the wrapper. How was that baby in the wrapper dressed? You look at the 60-something or 80-something-year-old woman that was raped. How was that old woman dressed? So it tells you the excuse of it's the way women dress is not really valid. But over the years, with all your engagements and activities, what do you think is the main reason why these inhumans, I really don't know what adjectives to use for them, why they perpetrate some of these heinous crimes?
So, for me, the only way I could have known this was to actually face my perpetrator. This is why I embarked on trying to see if I can engage my perpetrator. I wanted to know, so when you asked me this question today, I could have said to you, when I spoke to the Reverend, this is what he told me, this is what he was thinking, this was his thinking. That for me was very important, because the why question you cannot answer on your own. Yes, for example, I studied psychology, but I cannot decode, the minds of these people. So it was for me an opportunity. Okay, I'm in the process of also asking my uncle, who also raped me when I was 16. And there's somebody between us. And I said to the person last week, I want him to tell me, why he did what he did. And he came up with issues. Oh, I wasn't even sure that, you know, we were that close. And I got really angry. So when the kinds of things, I mean, that is coming, because for me, this is important. The question you've asked is really important. Why do men, and some of them in power in particular, who can have anybody, anyone, you know, if they could just approach you nicely, why do they get to that point where they want little kids? Okay, what is it? What is it? These two men were a lot older than me when they did what they did to me. What was the psychology? What was that you cannot get unless you speak to them? And this is power for them. So most of the time they would not even share that with you. So I couldn't get that from my perpetrator for a year and a half. Hence I did what I did, because I just felt like, well, okay, maybe he would tell me in court. But it is very difficult to know. We have all sorts of theories, but until we're able to speak to perpetrators, to understand what leads them, we are making assumptions. The assumptions you're making about dress codes, the boys and the girls in the schools are telling me the same thing. We have conditioned them to believe that it's the girl's fault.
Exactly.
It's the girl who wears the short skirt. But I don't go around trying to, you know, slap a young man's butt if he's actually in the beach there, you know, with his swimming suit, you know. So why is the responsibility not to the perpetrators? Why can you not control yourself? So in my talk, I say to the boys, even if you see a naked woman, it doesn't give you the right to go and touch them, let alone you rape them. If girls are not dressed properly, you can walk and turn your back and go.
Yeah.
You know, so these are the kinds of messages. But understanding the psychology of perpetrators is a huge task. And I really, really wanted to know. And maybe if I'd known, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking about this, because it was very important for my, you know, for my recovery to know what was going in his mind. I got a glimpse of, you know, oh, he didn't really think that it affected you this way. He saw it differently. What did he see differently? This is why, you know, the first question I was saying, you know, I would love to answer this, but there is a question I need to know. What were you thinking? So it's not saying I didn't do it. Let me know what you did. What do you think that was? You understand? When this happened, okay? It is important. So for me, in as much as we talk about punitive measures, there are cases where if people are totally contrite and they can give us some of this information that we can use as tools, you know, to prevent the next generation. For me, that is justice.
So make use of your spaces, girls. Talk to your parents. So if your mom or dad doesn't listen, there's at least one adult you trust. We all growing up had that one adult you would trust. Go to that adult and speak about it. You must have a teacher in school you trust, or a community head you trust, or a relative you trust. Go somewhere, talk to someone. Worst case scenario, go to the nearest television or radio station around you. Yeah. You do find a lot of radio stations across the communities. Go to them in the worst case scenario. They would be able to help.
And by next week, my line will come on. You can send me a text on 088 300 600, and I'll get your text message and we'll take it up from there.
So that's it. For those of you who have the habit of feeling so powerful, feeling that you're a man, you're a lion, you live in the wild, stop raping our women and girls.